Make sure I turn us down on my other screen. Boom. There we go.
I'm getting some buzzing coming from
You are? You shouldn't be.
and just stopped. Huh. Yeah, no, it's definitely picking it coming up on your side. I don't know what that is. Hey, Case. Hi everyone. Yeah, Larry. Yeah, we're not entirely sure what's causing that. It's coming across Kurt's
I don't know.
thing for some reason. We're not sure what's causing it there. Anyway, hi everyone. In case you're wondering, no, this is not a mistake. You are not hearing John's voice. You are hearing mine. This is Rob. And just to prove the point to you, we are going to go live. Welcome to Lore Masters Arcanum number 120, Quirky Characters and Fun Encounters. Tonight I am joined by a guest co-host, Kurt. Hey, hi, Kurt.
Hi, everybody. I don't know if it's picking me up at this point, or if it's coming through or not. Is it still staticky?
Yeah, I am not.
I
Sure
have absolutely nothing on my end that is causing it to do that. Let me.
All right. Well, the other thing I'm going to do is lower the audio level so that Kurt and I are at about the same level. Because I think I was set. I think he was set higher than I was. Still debating Inside and Talking D&D channel. All right.
Well, yeah.
Bloodwild, thank you very much for the resub. Heart of Adventure, thank you for the resub. Hey, you know what? We're gonna end up, if this keeps up, we're gonna end up with a what do you call it? Hype train real soon.
Hype train.
Might have a little work to go for it. But
A
anyway,
little
yeah.
bit.
So today we're gonna be talking about quirky characters and fun encounters.
Haha, no static now. Yes, thank you, Pat.
Excellent. So yeah, this should be a fun one. I do have some stuff that was sent to me by a couple of people. I unfortunately was not able to sync up with Vivi, so anything that was sent to her but not to me, I do not have. So feel free to. Thank you,
Send it
Thomas.
again.
I really appreciate that. I promise you, I am not just a floating head. This is not
Lies.
Max Headroom. Do you
I was
know
gonna say it's Max Headroom's return. It's Max Headroom's return is exactly what it is.
in that case, the scratching would be coming on from my side, and I'd be stuttering as I talked. Yes, you did, Dark Elf Twilight. Yes, you did, and I appreciate that. So to give you an idea, the kind of thing that we're talking about here, as far as quirky characters, they can be PCs, NPCs, things that have just characters that have gone off in a different direction than either the DM or possibly even the player was thinking they were going to go. You may all be familiar with the legend of Sam Sporkle. Sam Sporkle, if you had seen the imagery that Amanda had used for advertising tonight's Lore Masters Arcanum, came to life a few years ago when a DM had gone through this entire description of their party of entering a bar, and the character that they were looking for was described in great and somewhat frightening detail. And the party, either because they kind of said, nope, not doing that, or whatever the case may be, it's like, well, what's in the bar? And the guy was like, yeah, there's a goblin in the corner, standing up against a pole, drinking a beer. His name's Sam Sporkle. The party's like, we want to talk to Sam Sporkle. And this is what happens when DMs throw out things that you know, players pick up on and they're suddenly forced to run with. Or you may have player characters. You may have a character yourself that is just quirky and has a little tidbit. So let's start tonight. Kurt, you have any particular characters either that you've played or as a DM that you've NPC that were especially quirky?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I would be remiss if I didn't start off with where almost all of my actual quirky characters, the quirkiest of the quirkiest characters, go. I have a friend of mine, D20 Monkey. He runs what he calls seasons beatings. And so he every year he picks a couple of holidays, right? And he puts a whole themed one shot, right? And the whole idea is you make characters that are heavily leaned into the one shot. And so the last one that he did was for Christmas, right? So I made a ranger that was, what's his name? Tilly Bitterfrost. And he had like gumdrop arrows and a and like candy cane sword and everything, like, and he talked like this everywhere he went, and he was to be the hero of the Great White North. Like, yes, I've had many characters that are like that that I've very much leaned into. As far as characters that went in a direction that I didn't think that they would go in, I had a very serious, like, no nonsense fighter at one point in time, like came from the gladiatorial pits and things along those lines. Um and this was in third edition. And and at and then at one point I just said, because I started to do the whole, like, what was it, like 13th Warrior was real big at the time, right? And the whole thing about how they said that epic poem and whatnot, right? When when they were talking about going to meet their death and
Mhm.
everything like that. And so I was like, I really wish that would like give my other players and stuff like that like a bonus or something like that, right? My DM was like, we'll take a level in Bard. And so my barbarian, who was meant to be this like king of the wastelands, when it was all said and told, ended up being this like lore master sort of bard character who chronicled through epic song and saga like all of his the journeys of the group that he was with. And for me, that was just like one of the really quirky things that ended up happening. And then I had a guy who got turned into a goblin. Um, and he never got turned back. He was permanently polymorphed, and it was interesting. It was very, very interesting to have a Goliath character polymorphed into a goblin, and then they have to spend the rest of their life 3 feet tall, and it puts them in a different perspective.
Yeah, that would certainly change definitely a change of perspective. Before I get to mine, I
Mm.
Dark Elf Twilight had mentioned that they had sent a bunch, and really had sent a bunch. I want to share a few of their quirkier characters. First,
Mhm.
there's an elf cleric named Seren Nightfall, a dex-based cleric, low strength and con. Instead of wearing heavy armor and running into melee, wears leather armor, stays in the back and casts Sanctuary on himself. Says, "I'm the save point. You want healing? Come to me. I am not coming to you."
I'm the save point. That is
Yes.
epic. That is awesome. I'm
Uh,
I'm the save point.
Thomas, if you can do me a favor, if you can send them to me. I did not get a. You might have missed it. I did not get a chance to sync up with Vivi. She had mentioned that she was going to, but things kind of went awry.
And anybody who wants to add in, I am watching the Lore Masters Arcanum channel on Discord right now. So if you've got something like that, put it in there. I will read it off.
Uh, Another one. As an eccentric NPC necromancer with a thick accent who casts very tricky, wacky spells that make combat a slapstick while he taunts the NPCs in his native language. Lots of silly, crazy tactics like obscuring mist, blink, and blur. Allied with a
Okay.
Naga named Ravi, who guards the castle, who guards the entrance exit to his fortress slash castle. But the Naga is somewhat bored and can be persuaded to betray the Necromancer and team up with the PCs. I had some PCs do that, and then after they realized that Ravi had helped them take over the Necromancer skeleton miner operations, they questioned their choice to team up with him.
Okay. That
Uh,
that is
n-
definitely a character.
and of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention some of my Friday Night Crusades PCs. BP Gaming. Biggie has a half orc fighter named Grom. Grom's method of gaining entry to places is to knock politely first and ask if they need housekeeping. Then he kicks in the door.
Does he do the voice? Does he do the little the Tommy Boy voice? Housekeeping, housekeeping.
He goes, knock, knock, housekeeping. And of course, there is Manda's murder pixie, by the name of Toot Toot. Those of you who are familiar with the Dresden Files, yes, it is gender bent Toot Toot because this one is female. Uh, the PCs have started to become concerned about Toot Toot. They thought she was kind of odd to start with, and well, she's kind of grown into the whole murder pixie joke that started off as a joke, I think.
Oh, okay.
Kai, if you want to share your crazy kobold NPC story, please go by all means.
Let's see. Okay, so we got one from Sieg and we got one from Kai right now.
Oh, okay, all right,
Uh,
go ahead.
all right. Sieg says, I once played a gnome who was a scribe in a monastery. He was hoping to move up in the ranks of the clergy, but the problem was he was both lazy and impatient. Deciding he didn't want to learn the secret of the gods, he decided instead to read from the forbidden books that were being held in safekeeping. He didn't just read them, he fled the monastery so he could study them without his brothers trying to stop him. Turns out the books were demonic in nature. Good move. Taught the reader how to cast spells that summon creatures from the abyss to aid the caster, and thus began his journey as a demonologist, one of the new classes from the early Dragon magazines. Problem was he couldn't just go around summoning demons. He had to use his newfound magic powers very discreetly. He joined a ranger and a cleric. A cleric. That that had to have been something. Who used his own gains as he kept the true goal secret. Uh, in the process of their adventure, he discovered magic crack, which increased the caster's potential, but was also highly addictive. He didn't care though, as his main goal was more power. And the magic crack called Shimmer. This was decades before Shimmer was a drug in Arcane. Helped him with that. It was a fun character, neutral evil, but kept the party functioning as he needed gold for his research and things between him and potential rivals and enemies. Once the group had run afoul of some Knoll mercenaries at a bar, and he convinced the ranger to challenge their leader to a drinking contest. Krieger had a small keg of vodka put next to the Knoll leader, and during the contest, cast Tasha's insatiable thirst on him. That's rigging a fight. That's rigging it. That's rig. I love it, but that's rigging it.
Nice.
Oh, let's see. Hang on. Let's see here. Kai. All right, Kai. I have a great quirky character story. My player went off in an unplanned direction in my story, so I improved a small group of kobold raiders. The party was to track them to their camp that had been destroyed by other raiders. They had tied up the kobold leader named, am I saying this right? Curly? Hurley? And murdered the other five. Any, eeny, meeny, miny, yep, Curly. Eeny, meeny, miny, Mo, and Larry. The party killed the other raider party, saved the kobold, and spent the campaign rehabilitating the wild magic sorcerer kobold, who eventually became an apprentice to an alchemist in one of the towns.
Nice.
Both of those are full. Those are journeys. We went on journeys, friends. We went on a trip for both Sig and Kai. Like those are some trips.
Oh man. So yeah, those are great. I personally, I have a few. First, an NPC. I had uh my last 5e campaign that I was doing over the pandemic. Because it was a 4-person party. I added a rogue. I was like, this party, at least low levels, is going to need a rogue, at least till the
Okay.
mages can start doing stuff that just nullifies some of what they need. So I created a not a rogue. I didn't create a rogue though. I did create a bard, and it was a halfling bard who had two traits. One, the bard was constantly getting beat down to like 0 and death saves, and two, the bard was afraid of performing in front of people. And they had it seemed like every time they went down, the bard needed to be persuaded to get up and perform.
Performance anxiety.
Performance anxiety. I had no
It's
problem
us
saying
all.
whatever in the middle of combat, this, that, vicious mockery, whatever you need. Get sing for your supper. Was Fred Dickens. So the character arc for the story ended up becoming, at a point I realized that they didn't need him anymore, and I needed a reason to retire the character. So it became he had overcome his fear of performing in front of groups, but was really tired of nearly dying. So the pizza shop owner in Monster of the Week game. Um. Okay, Thomas. You have to remind me about the pizza shop owner. I remember
Pizza
the.
shop owner.
I mean, my guns. My spell slinger was a little quirky in that game, but then again, so is every character in that game.
I too am curious about this pizza shop owner. You
You know,
had me at pizza.
yeah, the Monster of the Week was kind of our for Thomas was running for a while as the fill-in game when we needed uh the Sunday stream was off.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, before my time.
But I forgot the story of the pizza shop owner. I do remember the one guy forgetting to knock before he opened the door to our hideout, and me nearly blasting him with a spell. That was fun. But like as far as quirky, the other one was kind of quirky by design. He was this was supposed to be a well, actually, it was supposed to be a really short campaign thing. It was Big Trouble in Little Absalom, where we were all playing kobolds, and my character's quirkiness was completely because of the fact that I read his character description and played him right to the T. He was a fighter who was kind of afraid, but wanted to be wanted to be brave for his friends, or those he thought were his friends, who may or may not have actually been his friends. Um, he
Okay,
he had his weapon was a halberd, which was actually a stick with a dagger tied to the end of it.
he called it his halberd.
I think it was counted as a halberd in the game. Um, Member of Chandler's. Okay, I'll get to that, Thomas. And the best part was he had a set of toys. He had toys with knights and dragons. And at some point during the game, he got really he was feeling really bad because he kind of like leapt into combat and every time something threatened them, and kind of got yelled at because maybe it wasn't what they should have done. So he was sitting there playing with his toys while the party went off to explore something else, and he kind of realized that, wait a second, he's looking at the knights and he's looking at the dragon, and he's like, I might be on the wrong side of this.
Oh no!
He did
Oh
have
man.
his heroic moment though. But I want to play that character again because there is a part 2 to that adventure that's supposed to happen, and it still hasn't happened. And I will bug the GM until they make it so.
The last.
Uh,
Huh?
let's see. Heart of Adventure. This is for the pizza owner. He was a member of Chandler's 4chan group and believed monsters and magic were real and would host Chandler's PC with chicken nuggets uh, and conspiracy theory. As long as no one complained to the health department. I like that one. Avantalord. So the last session of the game IDM, I had a creature that the guys were supposed to kill. The druid decided she wanted to be cordial to the monster, who could speak common. He rolled an 18 on diplomacy and derailed my entire night. It was hilarious. The character they were
Oh.
supposed to save, the character didn't want to go, so the same character was able to negotiate the monster and the person living together and helping each other. It was so bad.
Oh no. Well,
Oh,
wait a minute.
nice.
Hang on. You as a DM, do you have any sort of signature character, any sort of quirky signature characters that, whether it be you've intentionally put into a game or had your own version of Boblin the Goblin that the PCs just took and ran?
Um, weirdly enough, I not really, mostly because of the fact that I don't, I kind of do. I'm used to doing a sandbox to start with,
Mhm.
so I'm used to having to think on the fly because I never know who they're going to latch on to, and so I have to have like something ready for all of them. I have thrown odd quirks for rather known characters. For those of you, well, I mean, everyone who's been here for Greyhawk Adventures Book One, and actually, I think it was also when the characters came back, where Vivi's character went off in search of Jeru, the druid of Hamlet, who I've been running multiple adventures lately, between doing one shots, and I'm currently in the middle of two different Temple of Elemental Evil sessions with both begin in Hamlet. And every single time the party has come across Jeru, they've all found the same thing. He is sitting there, cross-legged in his glade,
Mhm.
sitting across from a bear, his brown bear, with whom he's having a staring contest. And to this day, Jeru has not won the staring contest. He's insisting that the bear cheats. So the party always has to figure out how to make their way as part of this break into that contest, because otherwise Drew and the bear will just sit there and stare at each other.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's quality right there. I I have one that is still on one that is still on the prowl, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Because forever I played in Forgotten Realms, don't shame me. Um that was in Waterdeep, and it was this little old lady, right? Shopkeep. Named Sophia. And the group had gone in there and the rogue wanted to, be a rogue, and tried to steal from her shop. So made a decent check, but Sophia noticed but didn't stop him. Then for the next 10 sessions, Sophia, who was a retired assassin, stalked them everywhere they went for the next 10 sessions while they were in Waterdeep running around. They always had this feeling that they were being watched, that somebody was following them. But whenever they went to go try and investigate, they couldn't find it. And then each morning, one of the rogue's items would be missing.
Nice.
Oh, yes, that's right. You never trust a little old lady ever. They'll get you every time.
Uh,
Out here.
so anyone else have any more quirky characters that they'd like to bring up or like to remind me of that they've done?
Well, I mean, we have my favorite quirky character
Shoot.
that you decided to kill with a dragon.
Oh, oops. Wait.
I'm in my prime, and you decided to kill me with a dragon. That wasn't cool.
Wait,
Oh,
was that the poor guy who went and stood next to Grom?
yes.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I completely forgot that that was your character.
Just you died. He wasn't
Uh,
ready. He was in his prime, proving these young
uh,
whippersnappers could still hang.
that was that was yeah, that was
Listen,
pure
no, 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 no,
bad
no, no,
luck.
no, no, no. Okay, all right. To be fair, hang on. To Heart of Adventure. To be fair, Jonas isn't a one trick pony. He'll come back. He'll come back. However, this guy, he's just dead. This guy's just dead. I would like to think that Jonas has some depth. He may be quirky, but he's not like off his rocker quirky yet.
So this kind of goes into the fun encounters, depending on your point of
Mm-hmm.
view. Quirky character and fun encounters.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so for those of you to give you a bit of context, uh, Kurt joined Friday Night Crusades on a night where the party was knowingly hunting for a black dragon. They knew it wasn't a full size one, but yeah, it was large enough. So they were hunting for it in a swamp, and once they found the dragon, there was a couple of things at play here. One, I had a plan for when the dragon was going to breathe somewhere. It wasn't going to do it immediately. There was a plan. It was supposed to wait a bit because it wanted to play with its food. So I gave the party the option when they finally found the dragon where the dragon was. How did they want to spread out? And Kurt's character stood next to Grom, BP, Biggie's game character that we talked about, who just happens to be the single largest source of damage in the party. The entire party spread out. He sat next to Grom, and Grom, I think, took two shots at it. One, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, was a crit, and the other one, hit and did enough damage where it, damn well might as well have been a crit. And I realized that if I don't breathe this round, the dragon's not going to get a breath attack because there's a chance that Grom is going to kill it the next round. Oh, did I mention that Grom was in melee and Kurt's character was ranged standing near the melee?
Now I had a body for protection. I swear by that one. All right. And to be fair, Sig's right. Sig was very charming in that game. Okay. And he this close. He would have took that
He was.
dragon on a date.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the dragon was very intent on eating Nicholas last. Nicholas amused him, so it might have been my time. The one shot the blue dragon, yeah, that's a one shot. There is a good chance. And remember that blue dragon killed you all for charity, so that was a different thing.
That is true. That is true. But I
But
was in my prime.
the with the black dragon, because of the fact that it was not going to survive another round and thus not going to get to play with its food any longer, um, it turned around and breathed on Grom, and the poor new guy standing next to Grom. Grom went down to what'd you go down to, like -6 or something like that? Oh, you went straight down to
Zero.
zero. You went straight down to
Zero.
zero. Um,
Zero.
Kurt's character dissolved. There's a
I
pool
was cooked.
somewhere.
I was cooked.
There's a
I
pool
was cooked.
somewhere at the bottom of just outside the city of Hardby where there's a pool in a swamp that is character sized.
Oh, hang on. Storycaster posted a here we go. From Storycaster.
All right, why don't you do that one, and then I'll do the one of the ones that Heart of Adventure sent.
Okay, cool. All right. Uh we had a punishment game. I mean, safe words. Where every character was possessed by where every character was possessed by strange characters. I had one character who was possessed by none other than, I don't know if I'm saying this right. Uh Eloise. Eloise, Eloise. I'm horrible at pronouncing names. Who was part klepto, part shit stir, and honestly walked into the room as a queen, as the queen of all. It was after all punishment game. The character was possessed by an 8th level mage. Ooh, ooh. Punishment games are always fun and strange at the same time. Okay. All right. All right. That does sound pretty brutal. Pretty brutal. Uh, LOEs. There we go. LOEs. Sorry. There we go. What did Hart send you?
One of the ones that he sent me doesn't. It's actually I'll describe the one that doesn't require the visual aid because otherwise it will not make much
Visual
sense.
aid.
Yeah, well, one of them has a picture of the board that they were
Ah,
playing on. He said I had another counter where we grabbed a gem from the eye of a statue, very classic OD&D box art style, and it freed a powerful genie that gave us 3 wishes. But we ruined 2 by wording our conversations to each other poorly. However, we thought hard about the third one and wished for the 2 character class levels in our current character classes. We thought long and hard on how to word it so it couldn't be twisted back on us, and yet our DM thought for only 2 seconds and was instantly laughing as he left to prepare something. We got all worried, but seemed fine as we prepared out level ups. Well, as he came back, my DM brain kicked in and instant realized what he had done. We were going to fight enemies worth enough XP to level up twice, and we were already level 8, so they were not small or easy enemies. It was quite the fight with an adult dragon, 2 hags, and a huge stone elemental. It was great fun because you got to use a
whoa.
random mix of minis and enemies, and we got to strategize super hard. But somehow we all lived and did level up twice. Nice.
That that's epic. That's a fight right there. That is a fight.
Oh, I was just thinking of quirky characters, and I had one and it just escaped me. Um yeah, that's definitely a good one. I really, really like that one.
Mm.
So a punishment game storycaster. The punch game is when you have those kinds of players where you need to do what the game is entailed. The players all submit punishments. There's typically a spinning wheel where your punishment augment is listed. Nobody ever gets their own, trust me. Whatever character you have, you find out the ghost you'll be possessed with. Trust me, and if none of you have ever done a punishment game, you will now. Okay. So
And
go.
oh no, I was gonna say, and to go back to what Amanda and Hart were saying, Jonas is quirky, but he's not quirky like that kind of quirky. He's quirky as in like out of touch with people kind of quirky, not ridiculously quirky. He's just he's a he's a special boy and he's a sad boy. He's just really big and he's a mixologist. Still counts. Fair enough. Fair enough. Still counts. He's just the
Actually,
big sad boy.
it occurs to me I have a current quirky character.
Oh, you do? What do you
I'm
got?
playing in a Dragonbane a short campaign Dragonbane campaign.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Dragonbane is from Free League Publishing. It's a Scandinavian RPG that they're bringing over,
I love
and
all of their products.
yeah, and one of the fun things is the fact that of the different character races you can play, one of them is mallards. So of course we all latched up on that, and
Wait,
we
are
are
you?
we are all ducks.
Please tell me you are Darkwing Duck.
Oh, my character is part Darkwing Duck, part Deadpool. Uh, hi-
Okay.
his catchphrase is "Let's get ludicrous." Um,
Outstanding.
and I also he also has a nickname, the Midnight Mallard. Is
The
he's
the
Blake?
Midnight Mallard.
It is more than it quacked up to be, Vantalord. But yeah, it is the character's name is Blake Duckworth. He's a fighter. He you know, and the thing is, the quirky part of it is he calls himself the Midnight Mallard because he, like Deadpool, he truly believes that he is a character in a game, and he talks to the other characters. And so one of the characters nearly died in our first combat, and he's like, "It's okay, it's okay. Just hope that you re-roll better next time." So we have one character who's playing a
Wow.
professor who is, trying to figure him out, and it's it's a lot of fun. That group is all kinds of zany,
I have a
and we have great fun with it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This all Mallard group.
Yes.
Do y'all wear pants?
Well, we're our videos from the neck up. So
No, I meant the characters. I meant the
I'm
characters.
not entirely sure. I'd have to look at the character art that somebody did character art first, I think, or was going to do character art. So I'm not entirely sure.
Oh no. I mean, Scrooge McDuck didn't wear pants.
But yeah, that we saw mallards and it was like, oh man, we are all playing mallards. It's just we got to you have to.
Oh
So
God.
so it's an
Vance Lord, no.
oops all ducks game.
I like that. Oops all ducks. That's a good one. I like that. Reminds me of like Humblewood, right?
Hmm.
Where you can get some really zany characters out of Humblewood when you're playing with like all these like, kind of uh, you know, um anamorphic characters. That's the word, right? Anamorphic. Where you're like, yeah, yeah.
And anthropomorphic.
Anthropomorphic. Thank you. There you go. Yep. Oh my goodness. Oh.
And it
The
occurs to me that
duck
one of
puns
the
are not stopping.
oh no, the duck puns will the duck puns will continue until we run out of orange sauce. Um, the it occurs to me that in the same game where I had the bard NPC, which was had his quirkiness, um,
Hmm?
there was a quirky NPC of sorts. One of the things that had happened during the campaign was they went in search of an anvil that was sacred to the dwarves, and
Okay.
they were able to retrieve the anvil from the group that was holding it. And well, one of my players was playing a forged domain cleric, a dwarven forged domain cleric, as it were, and said, "Well, can I use the anvil to create something?" Well, what do you want to create? It's like, well, I want to create a weapon for for our fighter. Like,
Okay.
all right, well, all right, cool. So it's like, all right, well, this is going to end up being a magical weapon because it's a sacred anvil. It's we've got a forged main cleric creating it. It's like, let's see what we have. So I decided did some rolls and had some fun with the role play with it, where it kind of sucked up energy from the sorcerer in the group who just happened to be wandering by,
Hmm.
and I rolled to see what kind of energy, and it turned to be acidic energy. So they created a halberd for the character. Turned out the halberd was intelligent.
Oh
Uh,
no.
because of the acidic quality, they decided to name the weapon, or I decided to name the weapon Viper's Kiss, Vicky for
Oh.
short.
Oh Lord.
And Vicky had strong opinions on the fighter's choice of fighting, when to fight, not to fight, fighting style, lack of damage, and Lord help him if he used another weapon instead for some reason.
Oh no. Yeah, sentient weapons are always fun, quirky characters to definitely have around.
Oh, yeah, you have to. I mean, I've also talking about other adventures running White Plume Mountain, and for those of you who are not familiar with White Plume Mountain, there's three wings. There are three magical unique sentient weapons that you are trying to that have been stolen by an ancient wizard, and you are trying to retrieve from the cavern underneath the mountain. And each of the three weapons has a very very different personality, and I've only gotten to play where they've retrieved more than one weapon a couple of times, and having the weapons talking to each other and sometimes talking smack about the party is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can 100% get behind that. Very much so. It's like they have their own little peanut gallery. What is it? It's like no. What is it? The hecklers from the
Yes.
Muppets. That wasn't
Statler,
half bad.
Statler and Waldorf.
That wasn't half bad. No, that was all bad. No. I love it. Oh, okay. Let's see. Let's check. Let's check. Do we have more story? Oh, we have more stories.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. No, story. Okay, Storycasters is talking about best way to run fun games. We want to hear about your characters. We want to hear about the characters. Tell us about it. Judge her relationship with Alcott. What is this? I think the chat has left us behind. I think that they are having their own whole conversation at this point.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. 100%. Her shield was less than pleased.
Okay. I know what he's talking about. This is going back to the Rise of the Rune Lords game.
Oh.
Or one of the characters had a sentient shield, and that character was in the character ended up being in a relationship with Thomas's character, Art of Adventure's character, Alcott. And the shield apparently was judgmental about that relationship.
Oh, and judgmental how? How was this character so judgmental?
Details, Thomas. Details.
Tell us more. Thomas, we must know. We want to know about the judgmentalness. Watch the episodes on YouTube to find out more. That is no, we are having a discussion, Manda.
Wow.
You just go watch the show. No, that's not the point.
Manda, did you used to work in radio? I gotta know.
Right? Right? The point. This is you're on Lore Masters Arcanum with Dr. Fraser Crane. First caller.
Played undead trying to find a way to become alive again. That's a pretty cool idea. I like that one.
Oh yeah.
I have not, and that also would make for a fun encounter.
Oh yeah. That is pretty cool.
Oh, that's right. I do have more characters from Twilight. I only went through a couple of them.
From Twilight, do you have the skin of a killer? What's going on?
Dark Elf Twilight. Let's see. Where is that? Wow, I get so many.
Oh, from Twilight, as in the person, not the books. I read an NPC for JHA Book 1 who ran the merchant shop in Hamlet. Nice. All right. Let's see here. What is this? Okay, I posted my favorite quirky character. Let's see here. Let's see here. Storycaster. Okay, I have my favorite character. I would play a bard, 9th level, who's actually an assassin. What was quirky was his performances were always known as a killer show. He got away. Oh, Amanda! Get him! Get him, Amanda! Get him! That one was bad. That one was bad. That was a bad pun. That was bad.
Our adventure we're talking about the shield, the sentient shield, was an ancient shield wielded by an angel who sought to destroy the ancient enemies he was built to defend from. So he was a bit disappointed in her dalliance with the 6th strength, whiny wizard noble.
Okay. Aw, you're supposed to protect us, Manda. That's how it works.
So from Dark Elf Twilight, okay, forget my half giant wizard. She had a really high strength, 19, I think, and specialized in necromancy, so she could cast melee touch spells from the necromancy and evocation schools. Boomp.
Oh, just don't keep us
And
on
no
track,
rogue who's a
Knockjack.
stage magician. No actual magic, just tricky
Oh
rogue
man.
skills. Escape artist, bluff, hide, sleight of hand. Easily mistaken for an illusionist, but has no spells. I like that. That's great.
Okay. Okay. All right. We're gonna set the wayback clock here for a game that I ran for an absolutely ridiculously quirky character, like ridiculous character. We're beyond quirk on this guy, but we're onto the ridiculous. All right. So are you familiar with the Iron Kingdom setting?
I think so.
From they had a war game that was called War Machine, and then for 3.5 they made an RPG paralleling it called the Iron Kingdoms.
No, no. In that case, no, I'm not.
Okay. It's like a high fantasy steampunky kind of game or whatever. Um so the we were playing through it was called the Witchfire trilogy is what the arc of the game was. The arc was a series of modules. But anyway, I had a character who was a bard that was a mime. Was a bard that was a mime. And he would yep, Warma Hordes. He would leave his mark in mime paint on everyone he killed. So that way they would know that they were killed by the silent mime. That was what he did. He would leave mime paints. He would paint certain parts of himself in black and white stripes. And then once they were dead, he would mark them. You know, like how we used to do in Halo death matches? Yeah, that's what he did. That's what he did. His character had no name. Why? Because he was a mime and never spoke. So they just called him the mime. That was this character. I was absolutely yes. That's exactly what he did. He 100% did that to ensure that they were marked by the mime. Thomas, it's exactly what he did.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he did very unspeakable things, Vance Lord. So many unspeakable things. Yes, that was a truly quirky character. That, yeah. Oh Lord, I can do bad puns all day. Yes, you can. You
You
want to
do
hear
bad. You do bad puns all day, Bantlord.
it? You said
What's
doo doo.
can?
Oh,
Oh boy, boy.
Lord. Okay, let's see. Do we have any more from the audience? Ah, here we go. Thomas has graced us with one. I once played a religious zealot fighter in a futuristic campaign. I think Cyberpunk meets Warhammer. And he would sounds like you're talking about Dark Heresy. And he would spread the good word to anyone who would listen, including his enemies, by shouting loudly, "Have you heard the good word?" and throwing a pamphlet at their face. Let's see here. Grom from Biggie Paw. I had a kobold that wore a bird cage on his head for a helmet and a frying pan on his chest for armor, and a sharp stick as a weapon with a 5 intelligence, and would run up and stab something and then tickle tickle them with a feather he found and yells sticky tickle tickle. What? Needless to say, he almost died every encounter, but the party would not let him die. Okay.
So
Oh,
let's see. Oh man. I was just thinking about something, and again, it was gone because brain's
fun,
gone squirrel today.
fun encounters. Have you had any fun? I've had a couple of fun encounters that I've been like, that have been interesting to play. Like as a player. And I would go so far as to say that like some of those fun encounters are like some of those one shots, like encounters is like a whole thing or whatnot. We had a like in one game that was like a holiday Christmas game. We were basically playing crap, what's it called? Um Ben Hur, where they do the chariot races,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Okay. Only we were doing it on dog sleds and we were like slinging spells at each other as we were doing it, right? And the whole thing was we're sitting there doing this track round and round and round and round, right? And we had it was a race. And we were slinging spells, firing arrows at one another, and in the center, if you weren't the first, like basically in the center after the third lap, it turned into this giant like Yuletide log fire elemental that started like melting the track that we were on because we were on ice. And so it turned into this like almost semi water skiing type event as we're trying to get across the finish line because that's the only way that we're gonna beat this thing.
Nice.
It was much fun.
So we have a new one.
What?
Uh, Underwevel. My favorite NPCs were two twin dwarf brothers who inherited their father's forge. They both fell in love with the same woman. She didn't give a flip about them, but they were convinced she'd fallen in love with one of them. One of them decided to open his own smithy and name it Granite Speared Better Ironworks, and they sabotaged each other's businesses. Interesting.
That is pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie. That is pretty interesting. Um Canadian Ancient Gamer asks any drunken debacles. What do you mean? As in like in game or people drunk at the table? Because that could be either or.
So here's a fun one for you. I, I've told the story about how the probably the largest regular game that I ever ran was back at the frat house. 30 years back ago, back in college. Where at its
Mhm.
height, it was 10 players playing 13 characters total. Well, that whole thing started. The first of the characters that were playing in it with there's like only 4 or 5 of them. Actually started off in my dorm room with a few of us playing on a Friday night, and the first adventure took place in a bar. The first adventure never left the bar
Wait,
because there were bar fights. Um, there were one of the players nearly got themselves killed by one of the what do you call it, serving wenches, and yeah, it was 3 hours of trying to escape the bar. Well, not really, but lots of fighting between them, between the bar staff, between rival groups that were in the bar. Never the adventure never they never stepped foot out of the tavern for the 3 hours that we played.
that's okay, so to be honest, that's actually kind of interesting, right? Because normally the first thing you're going to do is try and get out of the tavern or the bar or what have you to go on about it. But the fact that you had a whole session that just was inside the tavern, that's actually pretty neat if you really think about it.
Yeah, it was great. It was the first time I had run for. It was the first time I had run a game for any of them. Actually I only knew one of the people previously in terms of outside of school. It turned out that me and a guy who would end up being my frat brother, we both knew
Mhm.
someone from separate places who just happened to come on down to play with us. And so yeah, it was an interesting thing that we just happened to all get together and not only play, but they were just content to just stay in the bar and keep going with it.
That's pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie, that is pretty awesome.
Larry, let's see, not ours, but a girl that Natasha tried to play with barely made it through creation. They're all new players. He wanted to have a car hybrid Porsche druid that hates animals and wanted to use roadkill. The girl had commissioned someone to make fan art before session 0. Okay, that's not a quirky character. That's a quirky player. Like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. We had a 4 style game where every time you missed your attack, you did a shot. Never finished the game, but talk about drunken fun. Well, I can see that.
Yeah.
Dark Elf Twilight. My Forgotten Realms campaigns tend to have a lot of bar fights in them that slowly turned into raiding castles. And one time, the characters were drunk at the bar in Calamsham and drunkenly tried to break into the castle to steal some treasure and got captured. So the other half of the party broke in to break them out, but they already broke out. Then the second group kidnapped a princess, and then they separately escaped the castle and tried to trick some moonshaped pirates into letting them on their
I'm
only
about
to
it.
commandeer the ship and become pirates. Now that's what I call a free a sandbox adventure.
That is pretty good. Like, not gonna lie.
Let's see.
That's really good.
So let me see what I can do here. Because I don't know that this really works well without without me sharing the image. So let me go in and add an image.
Vancelord gonna be like, okay, I'll leave you in peace. Just gonna make some steak stir fry. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
All right, downloads.
Okay. All right. Bloodwild says an entertaining moment, not necessarily quirky. In a game I ran, a player was playing as a wild mage. Wild! Because you got to say that every time you do a wild mage.
Mhm.
The party of 4 was in trouble. Cleric was KO'd and bleeding out, Ranger under 5 hit points, and Rogue was trying to barricade the door to the room they were in, being assaulted by the undead. The wild mage decided to try and help the cleric with the ranger next to him as well. He ended up wild surging and casting fireball, killing all 3. The thief ended up escaping, but not before looting the corpses. As you should.
All right, so the image that I just put up goes on to for Thomas's Heart of Adventures story, because he was really excited about telling this one. Hold on. This was a fight my YouTuber filmmaker DM ran for us on the black sand surface of space. We fought a vertical slice of Galaga monsters. If you don't know what Galaga monsters are, it may be past your bedtime. The bottom half of the screen with the red bar represents where the vertical slice of enemies.
Hold the phone. You mean Galaga as in like the video game, right?
Considering what he wrote here, I am pretty sure that's what they mean.
Okay, just checking. Just checking. Okay, all right. Okay, just checking. I'm all like, wait a minute now here. Because I'm like, are we talking about the same thing or not?
And for those of you who do know what Galaga is, I apologize for the creaking sounds your body just made.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
How's your back doing?
rough. The bottom half of the screen with the red bar represents where the vertical slice of enemies is, and they are represented on the top half of the screen. They took a turn between all of our turns, and if you started your turn in the red or yellow area, you had to make a dexterity saving throw or be shot by lasers. They would come down to dive bomb us or tractor beam us, and if you got tractor beamed but made your way back to the ground, a second image of you spawned nearby and you always dealt critical damage from then on. Okay, all right, yep, that's pretty darn cool. I like that.
Okay, legit. All right. So Natasha?
Yeah,
Am I saying that
Natasha,
right?
yeah.
Natasha. I want to know more about. I think the most fun encounter ended with the beholder getting pink eye from the bard. What? because there's only a couple of ways you get pink eye. All right. And so what? I feel like you need to tell us what happened to this. I am eagerly staring at the LMA Discord right now, wanting to know, how did the beholder get pink eye? Yeah, yeah. No, no, no,
Bar needs
no, no,
to
no.
wash their hands.
I don't doubt that in the slightest. I want to know how the bard got close enough to do that. That's what I want to know.
That's
If I have
where
some time, I'll type it all out. Yes, yes, we are very curious about the beholder with pink eye. And does the beholder still have it? Because that shit spreads.
all right, let's get rid of that. So let's see. Other quirkiness. Well, actually, this goes under fun. Let's talk a bit about fun go back to fun encounters for a bit. And with the that since we just did Thomas's fun encounter. I actually have one. This isn't so much a fun encounter as a series of fun encounters, and the kind of zaniness that only really works well when you're doing a one shot. Because if you try to do it as part of a campaign, unless you're having one of those weird, you know,
You know,
off kilter nights where things get odd.
I'm going to interject for this
Sure.
one thing. I heard something the other night from a buddy of mine, and I had never thought of this approach when it comes to one shots, right?
Hmm.
Falls under quirky and fun encounters, right? But if it's a one shot, drive it like you stole it. Like, that was what he said. He said, if it's a one shot, your character, drive it like you stole it. The adventure, drive it like you stole it. I'm like, that's a damn good. Yes, 100%. Yes, drive it like you stole it. So please go on.
So it had to do with um the case of a missing wizard who may or may not have been uh kidnapped against his will by a woman who or being held by his will by a woman who had been seen with him, and then suddenly he was not to be seen anywhere at all, but weird things were happening in the neighborhood. um when they entered his tower, um, it looked strangely like the inside of a TARDIS. So we start off with a Doctor Who thing, and doing it
Okay.
D&D style, trying to describe it to him, so it's not obvious what they're looking at. I had enough Doctor Who players in the group to figure out that, oh no, this is a TARDIS. This is a very very TARDIS looking console that they're sitting there staring at. Um, so when they got the ship going,
Mhm.
or got the device running, they ended up in a field, and there was a path that on one end it basically just dropped off into nothingness. There was nothing beyond at the edge of the path. There was a little sign saying this is the end, and there was nothing beyond it. They could choose to continue walking down the road, or they could talk to the cat sitting on top of a mushroom. So we had a little Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass with the Cheshire Cat there.
Okay.
One of the players was like looking over the edge, and the other one was like, "Well, what would happen if I pushed him over the edge?" And I was like, because they kind of decided against it, and asked me later. I like, well, you would have heard a "Ah!" as the character suddenly landed in the cornfield behind them. But they decided to talk to the cat, go through the mushroom, and basically it became a mix of the following things, where it was Doctor Who, Alice in Wonderland, there was a touch of Monty Python thrown in there, and Robin Hood, wherein the three main characters of Robin Hood had been captured by the woman who is the main enemy,
Mhm.
and uh, basically turned them into were creatures. Robin Hood was a were fox. Big John was a werebear. Actually, I think Robin would end up being a werewolf. Big John B was a werebear, and Will Scarlet was a were rat. So threw basically everything at them, just all kinds of zaniness, threw the kitchen sink at them. I might have mixed a couple of other things in there as well that I don't even remember, but it was a hell of a lot of fun, and I had the right players because they were up for everything and anything. The sillier
Hell
it got, the
yeah.
better.
Will Scarlet, not Friar Tuck. I like it.
I thought about it, and I think I went with Will. I don't remember why I went with Will Scarlet, but I think I went with Will Scarlet on that one. Well, because Friar Tuck, it didn't quite fit the were rat. We would have been closer to a werebear, and I needed Big John for that, or Little John for that, I should say. I do
Gotcha.
love that
I
one.
actually have a mug that says you reach out and touch the to push the orc off the bridge. Also one. Instead, you lightly caress his back. He is uncomfortable.
I've definitely seen that one before.
Oh, that's good.
uh,
Oh,
Go ahead.
oh no, I'm saying to the audience. Oh, the Mad Wizard's Tower, and it is a picture of a TARDIS. I see that, Storycaster. That is what is up. Oh man, I have a reoccurring character in one of my D&D games, played by a very good friend of mine, Justin, where his character is Walter Crabcreek, the Reaper of Knowledge, right? And he his character's sole purpose, right? And this is the quirky part of him, is he wants to gain all the knowledge of the universe. That's his goal, right? And to enter lichdom. However, as as he puts it, right, he will do anything for a good sandwich. We have had entire adventures played out where he negotiated the factor that in the end the payment was going to be the best sandwich ever made within the kingdom. That was what it is. He gets paid in sandwiches. And that is how you get him to do things. Walter, we need you to go in here. And he's straight up a necromancer. We need reinforcements. Walter, bring up some of your undead people. No. I've got a foot long sub on Italian herb and cheese. Oh, how damn it. Okay. And he raises an army of the undead so we can get away. And he's just walking away, munching on a sandwich.
Nice. What about encounters or even quirky one shots?
Encounters. So, like, it's weird when you try and put it like fun encounters slash quirky encounters because it's all kind of subjective when it comes to that,
Sure.
right? Okay. So, like, one thing that I I got to play in, which was kind of a fun encounter, but was also really kind of brutal at the same time, was the dungeon that myself, and several other players got thrown into was essentially like all of the Saw movies put together. So each room itself was a new trap, was a new puzzle, was a new thing, right? And it was always only ever one character in that room would be affected, would die if we didn't figure it out. And so it was one of those like it became really fun because it determined the whole thing of like, I mean, we all know your character could die and we'd be fine and we could just resurrect them. Like it's that whole like, no, I don't want to die. My character doesn't want to die. He doesn't care if you can resurrect him and drag his body out of here. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to die. And so it's one of those like those are kind of fun. The other fun one is that we encountered was we had to this sounds so ridiculous too when I think about what we had to do. That we were presented with a an outside force, right? that said that they were an ancient elder race. They were from eons ago or whatever, right? And that they said that they were going to completely annihilate everything in all of Faerun, right? Unless we could prove to them, right, that the king and queen's song still reigned supreme. Long story short, they pulled a what is it, Voyage Home Star Trek on us, and we had to get them to hear Humpback Whale Song in order for them to not kill every like just wish us all out of existence, right? We had to figure out, and one of us went, "Are they talking? Is this Star Trek? Are we doing Star Trek right now?" And sure, yep, it was. It sure was. We had to go get. It wasn't humpback whales. We had to apparently somewhere in a lore dump, the DM had said that Umber Hulks at one point in time communicated much like whales did through like this song, right? And so we had to go find an Umber Hulk. We had to awaken the Umber Hulk so it could understand us and get it to sing for these sentient demigod like beings that were fixing to like just wipe the world clean kind of thing. That that was a fun encounter.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
That was a truly fun encounter. We're like, wait a minute, what? Because our guide kept talking about sentence enhancers, and so that was our clue. That like was the yes, you're gonna have a little tongue in cheek on this one,
Hmm.
but he kept talking about perhaps you need a sentence enhancer. That would work. Yes, sentence enhancers. I've heard they're quite popular in Waterdeep. Like, what? Okay. Got it. All right.
All right, so we have one from Kai Hawkeye before we get to the ones in chat. This
Mm-hmm.
one from the LMA channel. In my homebrew world, I had a magic item store called Tardies. Every time you come in, you are served by someone who's dressed like one of the doctors. If you're requesting an item, they go in their storeroom, which is a portal to a pocket dimension where everything was stored. When they come back out, they look like they were dressed. They look like and were dressed like the next doctor. That's
Oh
cool.
no.
I like that.
That is
Uh,
cool.
Part of adventure. We had an encounter against a dragon that was released from the bottom of a mountain city that existed in a massive crevice that existed between two mountain faces. The city was maybe 25 to 50 feet wide at any point, and so our party had to race vertically, a rare occurrence in D&D, to escape the jaws of the blue dragon.
That's bad. That ooh. That
And that's I like that.
I had a
Baptizing
fighter.
pause.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say I had a fighter with a cat-shaped maul. Like the end of the maul was shaped like a cat, or the whole thing was the shape of a cat. On a one or a two, when the maul hit, it would leave a cat face print. On a 3/4, the maul would leave a cat butt imprint on the enemy. Made it silly and left a signature trademark. Oh yeah, it definitely left a mark. That's for sure. Oh man. Okay. All right. I like that. That's kind of neat. A cool little quirky type item.
I know I've told it talk about quirky encounters. I know I've told this story before. But the Friday Night Crusades group, they came across a room that had a throne, and they knew they had to get across this room somehow because there was a door on the far side of it, and they're also curious about the throne itself. But the room was like checkerboarded, uh,
Mhm.
and there was a different color of tile going straight up the middle. Well, as it turns out, all the tiles were alignment based. So you could only step on certain tiles if you had certain alignments.
Okay, I'm
And
about this.
this being a rather old school type adventure, there were 24-hour reductions in certain statistics if they failed their saves. So after a while, and after quite a few failed saves, and one of the characters being reduced to like a 5 intelligence. Thankfully, he was he was a half orc ranger, so they weren't really requiring him to be all that intelligent in the first place. Um, they decided that they need a better plan. And their better plan consisted of going and getting all of the corpses that they had racked up in the previous room and
Hmm.
spreading them across the floor. And instead of walking on the floor, they walked across the corpses to get to where they needed to go.
Oh, that's
My Friday night group, I
that's
used to,
some
yeah,
that's some out of the box thinking.
my Friday night group, I used to call them the recycling company because it was reduce, reuse, recycle.
Oh man.
They made finger puppets out of goblin skulls.
Let the
Uh,
bodies hit the floor. Oh
hmm,
man. Aren't you supposed to be cooking dinner right now or something?
he's cooking something. I'm not quite sure what that is.
Right?
Dark Elf Twilight. I had a game where I was a player. I played my paladin slash sorcerer, but my brother was playing an fighter based on Lurtz from Lord of the Rings, and our friend was playing a halfling rogue trying to become an assassin. Well, at the end of the adventure, the rogue murders a peasant right in front of my paladin, so I had to try to arrest him. And the orc fighter and him killed my paladin, and I got lectured on how I was killing the fun by being a buzzkill. So I said, fine, we're playing evil characters? I'll make an evil character. And I broke out the Book of Vile Darkness and made a half orc cleric
Oh.
diabolist. Worshipped a devil lord, had an imp familiar, took those feats to disfigure your character, and one that made your character a necrophile to boot. Uh, we went on a journey to get a dragon's treasure, and along the way, I rescued the party from the astral plane after a mishap involving a portable hole, bag of holding, and triceratops. Wait, what? And still
How'd
got
that get
berated.
in there?
I don't know. And still got berated for us being set back because my teleport got us a mile away from where we were. When we got to the dragon's lair, I used my cloak of Arachnida to climb the treasure room, stuffed as much treasure as I could into my Heward's handy haversack, and flew away on my broom of flying, leaving the other two to face the dragon alone. They died. Twilight, to which I say, well done.
Bravo.
That's
Bravo indeed.
that's how you get revenge.
Right? Wow. There's some
Uh, let's see.
the
Uh,
no, I was gonna say I'm sitting there thinking like a lot of really fun encounters have always, in my opinion, been kind of on the fly.
oh yeah,
Um uh it's that whole like in the moment, what are you coming up with to make things kind of interesting? And it's actually kind of funny because one of the most fun encounters is every session, right? Almost every session, the players create the most fun encounters. Why? Because they come up with some of the most harebrained schemes you could possibly think of to try and solve a puzzle that you got out of out of like a highlights magazine at the dentist office that morning, right? And they come up with this deep philosophical, like, oh no, it's this, that, no, no, the answer is one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. What are we doing here with summoning demons and making barter deals and stuff like what's happening?
oh boy. All right, let's see. So one session, my players made an attack called yet Yeet the Gnome. Okay, that's fair. Yeah,
You to know. I'm about it.
listen. I was in a game where I was playing a Goliath barbarian. He was kind of a he, very serious character, or young character who turned out was all excited to finally go see the big city, and then realized he did not like the big city at all. Too loud, too noisy, and too many weird people doing annoying things. But we had a character that was a rogue. I think she might have been a halfling. And part of our strategy, instead of worrying about her climbing walls, he just yeeted the gnome, the rogue to wherever she needed to get to.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
All right. Storycaster. I once was in a game where there was a player at 13th level bard with a nasty ex who was stalking him. The problem is the ex was celestial,
Oh,
made for a hard game. Regardless of what city we ended up at, every temple refused us due to the ex that was hunting us down. All right.
that is. I mean, that can be fun when you have those kind when you to make those kinds of encounters where you have like the crap. What is it? The the Carrie Fisher from Blues Brothers ex wife slash girlfriend that's like tracking them down as they left because like he decided to go on an adventure and like forgot it was his wedding day or something like that, right? Like those can be really fun. Fun encounters. Yeah, like and she just like randomly out of nowhere, all of your random encounters in the woods are just her. She just happened to be like a sixth level wizard or a druid or something. And so, like, every time you're in the woods, you're getting assaulted by woodland creatures because she's like, you left me.
Oh man. So many fun encounters, so little time.
Right?
However, we are just about that time. I see Lord Gazumba's stream is up. So,
We are.
first of all, Kurt, I want to thank you very, very much for joining me this evening. I know it's on short notice, and I appreciate it. It's
Yeah.
a
This
lot
is
better to
fun.
have somebody with me than try doing alone. Chat, you were fantastic this evening. To my mods, thank you so much for
Oh,
all the
hang on.
all the help this evening and keeping us updated as to where everything was located. All the submissions made for a great time. But here at Blue Box, before we go, we do have one question for you.
Hang on.
If
I have to answer a question. I have to answer a question first.
okay, go ahead, go ahead. Yep.
Okay, my dungeon Roomba, my dungeon Roomba right here, Slimy, right? Um, he comes from a place called Where, like as in werewolf. Geek.com is where he comes from. I picked him up. Focus on the thingy there. He's called QB. But it's called wheregeek.com. I got him at Gen Con last year.
Nice. All right, and the chat already knows where we're going with this. But
Yes.
if you have, or if you've been enjoying the show and the content here at BlueBox.com, BlueBoxCon, yeah, that's next week. Thank you.
Mm-hmm,
Hello,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
uh, Blue Box RPG, but have not yet followed, or you've been following for a while, or even just following just now, but have not yet subscribed, or gasp, you've subscribed, but your subscription has lapsed. I have to ask you one simple question. What
What
are
are
you
you doing?
doing? Give us a follow, give us a sub, or, just hang around and chat and, enjoy the thing. Join our Discord. Lots going on there. We do have Friday Night Crusades coming up this Friday. It will be the last one before Blue Box Con, and the
Mhm.
party is back in the thick of um, the Temple of Elemental Evil. Who lives, who dies? Well, you'll just have to join us in Discord on Friday to see that. And this weekend, actually, I think this weekend we are off this weekend for Mother's Day. So, don't think anything's happening there. Um, but anyway, join us on Friday. If not, join us next week. And then, hope to see
Oh,
you
no,
all.
what we got? No stream this weekend.
No streams
Oh,
this weekend.
there's
We do have GHA Tuesday.
Tuesday.
And
Yes.
and I believe we are still having War Master Arcanum on Wednesday.
I
Not
think
quite sure what
so.
that's going to be yet, but that'll be, possibly even a quick preview, or well, I'll be getting ready to head out down to uh Tennessee. So going to raid Lord Gazumba. If you could all hang out until that's done and give us a nice big raid number. We got 47 in channel, we got 20, 33, 34. All right, 34 people. Great, great number. See you all on the flip side.
Peace.